Namaste, namaste everyone. So we are here with Ami Ganatra ji for the session number 2, day 5 of our summer program being organized by Hindu Heritage Foundation of America. And we have been listening wonderful scholars and speakers and guests and whatnot. So here is Ami Ganatra ji. She will be sharing few very popular, interesting topics which you have heard about. Ramayana, our two epics, our historical grants, Ramayana and Mahabharata. So she is here. We welcome Amiji. We welcome you to our summer program. So please continue.
Thank you, Kavita ji, and thank you, Hindu Heritage Foundation. This is an excellent initiative, and I'm extremely privileged to be here today, talking to all of you, and especially to the youth, to the Hindu youth who want to take forward the legacy that our rishis have left us with. So today, I'll talk a little bit about Ramayana Mahabharata, as Kavita ji said. But before I get into it, a little bit about myself. So I'm basically a management professional. I've done engineering and MBA, and then got interested in yoga, and through that Sanskrit, and that's how then my one interest led to another, and I started studying the Indian Shastras, so with focus on Mahabharata and Ramayana. And recently, a book of mine has come. It's called Mahabharata Unraveled: Little Known Facets of a Well-Known History. So a lot of Mahabharata that we know is based on hearsay or TV series or imagining or retellings. So I've tried to go back to the Vyasa Kruta, the Mahabharata written by Vyasji, to bring out certain aspects of it. So anyways, I'll show you the book later on. But before I start, I would love if we can keep this interactive. I have a few slides which I will share, and I will also do a lot of talking. But before that, you can type it, you can talk, yeah, anything is fine. What is Itihas? We are going to talk about Itihas, but do we know what is Itihas? Does anybody know? Any thoughts on what Itihas is? Anybody? Okay, doesn't matter. So also then my next question is, why do we call Mahabharata and Ramayana as Itihas? We have so many books in the Indian Shastras. We call only two texts as Itihas, which is Ramayana and Mahabharata. Yeah. So what we will do today in the talk, okay, maybe I talk right now and then eventually we can discuss. If you have questions, please feel free to ask. Yeah. There is no right or wrong question. So we'll go through some slides and then we can discuss your thoughts about it in detail. 1 second.
You can unmute yourself or raise your hand.
Anybody wants to say anything?
Yeah, we're just going to add. So based on what my understanding is, Itihas is, the literal translation is as it happened.
Very nice. Very nice. Who was this? I can't see. Who said this?
Sorry, there's Abhishek Bansal.
Abhishek. Okay. Hi. Namaste. Namaste, Abhishek. Perfect. It is called As It Happened. Yeah. So you already know the etymology. And now we'll see why do only Ramayana and Mahabharata qualify as Itihas, and what is the peculiarities of Itihas. Yeah. As It Happened is also history. Now, what is the difference between Itihas and history? Is it the same? Is it the difference? So these are some of the questions which we will hopefully try and answer by the end of this session. So please keep responding like this. I really like this. Yeah. Okay. You can see it, right? Yeah, you can see my screen, everybody?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I can see.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So I was telling you about the book. So this is the book Mahabharata Unraveled. It has just recently come out and it's available on Amazon India as well as in US. Now the paper deliveries have also happened, so you can check it out. Anyways. So what will we talk about? Three big things. What is the meaning of itihas? Etymologically, Abhishek ji has already answered, and that is correct as it happened. Yeah? But what does it mean? Is it history? Is it mythology? There are aspects of my mythology. So how do we understand that? The second is just understanding the story of our two Shastras. I think a lot of you already knew that. Yeah. So we just cover that in brief because it's important. And the last part is, what all does itihas have? Is it only a chronicle of events, or is it more than that? Yeah. What other information it has? So this is what I have in mind, but then we can take topics as we need once we are done. We are through this. So what is the meaning of itihas? But before that, let's understand in the Sanatan Dharma, in the Hindu Dharma, we do not have one book. If you see other religions, they all have typically one book. Old Testament hai, New Testament hai, Quran hai. They have some books, and then they have hadiths to sort of help them figure out certain things. But in Sanatan Dharma, we don't have a book. We have a library, an entire library, and possibly you guys have already learned about this. There are two big divisions called Shruti and Smriti. Shruti has to do with Shrunoti. So here, things that were not IP-able, they were not patentable, but the information was there, the knowledge, the wisdom was out there in the nature, in the Prakriti. And our rishis meditated, and that wisdom came to them, which they then spoke as richas, as verses compiled into the different Vedas. Yeah. At one point in time, it was one way, and then it was divided into different ways by Ved Vyasa. Vyasa is to cut. That's what we understand. And the other part is called Smriti. Smriti is what is remembered. Remembered in the sense, it is a tradition. It is wisdom. It is information that has passed from one person to other. In Smriti, you actually give a name. You can say, okay, this is from Yagnavalkya. This is Manu's Smriti. This is Manu's. So this Smriti is Manu's views. Dharma Shastra, yeah, we are talking about Dharma Shastra. This particular views on Dharma are by Parashar Rishi. So that way we have Dharma Shastras, which are given by different Rishis. We have different Purans. Now what happens in Purans is that we have many stories. Usually Itihas and Purans are clubbed together, but there is one big difference that I'll come to. We have Shiv Puran, Vishnu Puran, Matsya Puran, Brahma Puran, Skanda Puran, Garud Puran, lots of those, yeah. And then we have Itihas, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Typically, Itihas and Purana are clubbed together. Typically, they say Itihas Puranani. So Itihas and Purans say all this. This is what they'll have. Because Purans have some stories from the Itihas as well. However, a lot of subject matter of the Puran has to do with the godliness, with the deification of the different avatars, stories of the gods, and all of that. Whereas Itihas is more to do at a Laukik level for people like you and me and our ancestors. So basically, Itihas is about our ancestors, and then you have Darshan and all of that. In our entire literature, Ramayana and Mahabharata are called Itihas. And the reason I'm stressing on this is because a lot of times we are told that Ramayana and Mahabharata are just mythology. They are not history. Islam has history, Christianity has history, but Hinduism, Ramayana, Mahabharata is not history. These are just stories. These are just fictional stories created. And that is why knowing that our ancestors, our rishis called it itihas is important. They could have given it anything. We have lots of categorization. Yeah. Puran, for example, may have a lot of what are real phenomenon given in a story form. A lot of that would come in the Puranas. A lot of wisdom given in a story form. A lot of wisdom narrated to us in a way that is easy to understand, easy to relate to. But itihas is itihas, itiha asa, itiha asate, which is as it was. So that's what we come to. As Abhishek ji said, what is the etymology? It is itiha asate. So asate is to be, to exist. Yeah. Itiha, traditionally, it happened. Does it happen? That is itiha. So that also we can separate into itiha. So that does it was. But this is just the etymology. What is the definition of itihas that is given to us by our rishis? So it's in Sanskrit, but I'll explain. So the definition says, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Mokshana, Upadesha Samandritam, Purva Vrutta, Katha Yuktam, Itihasam Prachakshate. Itihas, history, or Itihas that we're talking about. Prachakshate, called. What is called Itihas? Purva Vruttam. Purva is before. Vruttam is to happen, that which has happened. That which has happened before, Katha Yuktam, but narrated to us in form of stories. Purva Vrutta, something that happened in the past, narrated to us as stories, is called Itihasa. But it has a purpose. It is not just for documenting the past, which typically history as it is understood in the Western world. It has a purpose. What is that purpose? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Mokshana, Upadesha, Samanvita. So, what is Itihas? Purva Vrutta. How is it told? Katha Yukta. And what it is? Upadesha. Upadesha is lesson. Lesson for what? So in Dharma, we talk about every person, every being, not even person, every being has 4 pursuits. There are 4 goals or Purusharthas that are meant for a jeev to achieve and live for. Yeah, these are Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Moksha is in nobody's hand. Moksha happens if you've lived life in a certain way, but we strive towards Dharma, Artha, and Kama. Okay, so I'll come to what is Dharma, Artha, and Kama in brief. But Itihas is supposed to also give us lessons on living our life in a dharmically aligned way. How do we live our life in a dharmically aligned way? And why does it matter? For that, understanding what is Dharma is important. So, all of us, there are different aspects of our life, right? First is Artha. Artha is resources, money, wealth, all of that. For anything and everything, right from the day we are born, we need some resources. We need milk, which comes from our mother. Our mother needs food. We need clothes, whatever. We need resources for everything. In Gujarati, we say, "Bhukhya pete bhajan na thaye." You cannot think about God. You cannot become a bhakta if your stomach is empty. Yeah. So you need food, first of all. So that itself is artha. All the activities which a person does to fulfill his arthik, or which is called resource needs, so that he can live a life which allows him or her to grow and thrive, that is all related to artha. All your professions or money related aspects, your resource collection related aspects, that is a part of the economic part, which is artha. Then you have the social part. Now you see, we have an institution of marriage, and it serves a big purpose. If everybody tomorrow decides that I don't want to have kids, then that is the end of the society. No future at all. So our Shastras say that it is the responsibility of every person to ensure the continuity of his or her lineage. Yeah. Hence, there is a big stress on having a family, on raising kids, because they are the ones who will continue the society. If there is no continuation, what's the purpose? Yeah, everything will just end. So that aspect is the social aspect, which is the Kama. Kama also means desire. Now, this desire for what? Desire for doing what? Desire could be for anything, but specifically for having kids. Now, what you do for artha, for generating resources, what you do for ensuring the line of the human line perpetuating, all that is related to what is, or rather, how you do all that is related to your value system, right? And every person has some connection with the society through the artha and through the social aspect of it. So dharma and artha. Now they also don't exist in themselves. For creating resources, you use the environment. For ensuring the perpetuation of the society, for the continuity of the society, the resources therein doesn't basically come from the environment. Okay. So basically, if a person wants to be happy, and I right now mean in a very simple sense, person wants to be happy, he needs to have the right resources. He needs to have good set of social bondings, because no man lives on an island, is an island. Yeah? A man needs a society to survive and thrive. So he has these social interactions. Now, and he needs to ensure that the Prakriti, the environment, is in favor of the perpetuation of the society. If it's very hot, if there are famines, if there are floods, then he can't be happy. Yeah. So in a way, there is a responsibility which the individual has towards the preservation of the environment as well. And there has to be a balance in all this. If one becomes more important than the other, then what happens? People go after only profit, only profit, only profit. They end up probably exploiting the workers that they have. They might end up taking more from the resource. What happens in this case when there is an imbalance? The system breaks, like we are seeing today, right? There are all these environmental issues, and we say because people have actually mined the Prakriti so much. We've taken so much advantage of it. We've taken more than our share from the nature, the resources. So in this situation, the system falls. So how does Hindu Dharma talk about it, right? In normal terms, Ajkal we talk about sustainability. Sustainability is very important. You must have all heard about it. Everything is about sustainability. A lot of your students, you might have heard about it, but in corporate, sustainability is even a bigger term. They say if you are in an industry, all your practices should be sustainable. Your work life should be sustainable. Yeah, you shouldn't only work. You should also focus on your family. You shouldn't only study. You should also focus on your extracurricular activities. Yeah, so there has to be a balance in all this. Why? Because you can sustain for a longer time. You can live, thrive, and survive for a longer time. That is sustainability. We in Sanatan Dharma call this principle of sustainability as Dharma. Typically, Dharma is called religion. Religion is just one part of it. Yeah, religion is also important, but religion is one part of it. Sampradaya is one part of it. Rituals are one part of it. Belief systems are a part of it. But essentially, the underlying meaning of Dharma is to uphold. So if we define Dharma, it says, Dharate anena iti dharma. Dharanata dharma uchyate. Dhru. Dharma starts with dhru. The root word for dharma is dhru. Dharyate, root word is dhru. And a lot of you might, if you know Hindi or Gujarati or any of the Indian languages, the earth is also called dharati in the Indian languages. So what is dharti? Dharti is one that holds us. Yeah, we survive because of the dharti. So dharti holds us. Dharan karna is to uphold. Dharyate is to uphold. So dharma is that overarching principle which is essential for the sustenance and upholding of the society. Yeah. So the view with which you ensure a balance in all this, in your artha, in your karma, in your social, economic, environmental, so how much your relation with all of this is your dharma. Now this is a broader aspect. Your dharma, say in a small aspect, look at your family. If your family has to be happy, if your family has to survive and thrive and grow, there has to be a very equitable interaction. If there is only one person who's doing all the work and others are just having fun and doing nothing and not helping with the household work, that one person who's doing the work is going to collapse one day. It's not sustainable. We use that word all the time, not sustainable, right? So in the family, we all have certain dharmas to live by. Then you go to school. Now, if you want to have a happy school life, learn from there. There has to be some dharma about the school. Everybody in the dharma, the students have to do their job, the teachers have to do their job, the admin has to do their job. Only when everybody is doing their job can the school survive for many years. So that is the overarching principle of the school dharma. Now, as a student, when I go to school, I have a dharma. As a student, I have certain responsibilities towards the school. At home, I'm a daughter, I'm a son. I have certain responsibilities towards that. I'm a brother, sister. I have responsibilities towards that. So all these are also called dharma. Yeah. understand, and I mean, it's a very profound concept, but this is just to give you a brief understanding. And the job of the Itihas, the reason Itihas has been written in this way, as we saw, is to give us the Upadesh, to give us lessons of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. How do we live our lives in a way that is socially sustainable? Because only when there is social sustainability can we individually also grow and thrive. Yeah. So for our individual progress, for the progress of the society, for the progress of the world at large, living a dharmic life is important. Taking right kind of decisions is important. But how do we know that? A lot of books are only theory. Itihas actually shows us through the stories, through actual happenings that have happened in the past, about how people have lived and what happened when those who didn't live, what happened to those who didn't live by. Yeah. So this is the purpose of Itihas. I extended a little, but I think I hope it makes sense. Any questions till now? I have one more slide. So why was I talking about Dharma so much? Because as I said, Itihas is meant to teach us or give us lessons or share with us what Dharma means and how can it be put into practice. And why I say that? Because if you see Mahabharata, if you see Ramayana, there are few shlokas, few verses, few sentences that get spoken again and again and again. Yeah, through rishis, through different characters. One of them is Yato Dharmaha Tato Jayaha, where there is adherence to Dharma, to righteousness. That could be one word for it. To justice, to nyaya. That where there is adherence to a society which lives by Dharma, which has a balance in what it does. Artha, Kama, Moksha, Moksha, but Artha, Kama, interaction with the Prakriti, interaction with each other. Where there is balance, where there are virtues, where there is righteousness, there will be victory. What is victory? Victory is a longer term sustainability. It will survive. If there is no Dharma backing, it will fall. Yeah. So we talk about Hindu civilization that has what, 10,000, 20,000 years old. Many civilizations came and they went away, but we survived. And the reason for that is this: we did not have we have religion, aspects of religion, sampradaya, all of that. But the underlying theme that our rishis have always asked us to focus on is this theme of sustainability, which is Dharma. So the other thing which you will also hear, and I think these two are important sentences, something that you should bear in mind and something you can also talk about. Very simple. Yato Dharma, Tato Jaya. Where there is adherence to Dharma, there is victory. Dharmo Rakshati Rakshitaha. One who protects Dharma, Dharma protects that one. So Dharma protects him or her who protects Dharma. Like in a school, if there is a student who follows the rules of the school will take care of that person. But if there is somebody who never follows the rule of the school, what will the school do? The school will say, okay, you're rusticated. But school is an institution here. When we talk about the society, it's usually more natural phenomenon. Yeah. So I'm just telling you very, very simply. Those who live by Dharma will be protected by Dharma. There will be situations in their life when they are confused what to do. But if they stick to something which is more righteous, they take that stand which is more sustainable rather than taking a selfish stand. Going forward in life, somehow things will work out in their favor, although it might not look like that initially. So that is what our rishis tell us. So these are the key messages from Indian Shastras and especially from Itihas Shastras. In Itihas Shastras, they show us how this is lived. Other Shastras are more theory. Itihas is actually practically how people have lived it. That's the importance of Itihas. Okay. So any questions, any thoughts, anything till now on this understanding of Dharma or understanding of Itihas? This was very conceptual. So any questions, anything here?
Question. Can we go back to the Smriti and Shruti slide? Because that your video got cut on my side, so I couldn't listen to the.
Okay, sure. This one. the two broad classifications of Hindu scriptures, Hindu Shastras, are Shruti and Smriti. Shruti is essentially, what you have to understand is the Veda Upanishad. All the Veda and Upanishad that gets spoken of, that comes under Shruti. All of that. Everything else is in Smriti. Yeah, you talk about the philosophies, you talk about Itihas, you talk about Puranas, you talk about Manusmriti, which you must have heard of a lot. All this falls under Smriti. So, which is the authority in terms of Dharma, understanding of Dharma? It is the Shruti. What is right, what is wrong? If Shruti says it, it is the final word. Yeah. But what Shruti says is not always easy to understand. So, Smritis are created to take that wisdom of Shruti to common masses, to people like us, to make us understand how to live our life in accordance with Dharma. That is what Smriti is. But you see, there are so many Smritis, there are so many Shastras within the Smriti classification as well. Then how do we decide what is right or wrong? So it is said that eventually, if there is a conflict between something said in a Smriti Shastra versus the Shruti, then the Shruti is paramount. That is what it is typically said. Yeah, and there are authorities on Ved Shastras and Upanishads as well. But you can see that you see there has been so much thinking about Dharma that has happened in the Indian consciousness, that we have so many Shastras, so many works dealing only with making people understand Dharma. And that is the beauty of Sanatana Dharma. And that is why we have survived so much. That is why we've, whenever there was a problem, we've come out of it and established ourselves again. It's a very flexible kind of a system that way. People take, people do that which is going to ensure their sustainability, the social sustainability. And that is the basic theme of Dharma. Is that clear now?
Yeah. Can you explain the divisions of the Smriti?
You want to, that will take time, sweetheart. Should I, okay, let me just do it briefly. Yeah. How do I share this again? 1 second. Is the screen still visible?
No, it's gone.
Okay, now it's gone. Okay, so in Smriti you have the, this is not even the complete classification. Yeah, there will be more to it, but one is the Dharma Shastra. So Dharma Shastra are what you can say the do's and don'ts. Okay, so Manusmriti, Manu, Yagnavalkya, Parashar, these were all rishis, and they have given their thoughts on what must be done, what must not be done. What should a king do, what a king should not do. What should a citizen do, what should a citizen not do. If something wrong happens, what kind of permission, what kind of punishments to give, what kind of punishments to not give. What should be the role of the man in the family, what should be the role of the woman in the family, how should marriages take place. So all these very practical things of life are given in the Dharma Shastra. And you will see that in Dharma Shastra, there will also be some difference of views in the different Dharma Shastras. Yeah. So idea is the same, to lead a sustainable dharmic life, but different rishis have given their views on what are the do's and don'ts of it. So this is what Dharma Shastra is. Then Puran. Puran, as I already said, Puran has again wisdom of the Vedas, but told to us through stories of our gods. So Shiv Puran will talk about, it has all the stories about Shivji that we hear. Yeah, a lot of what we understand of Shivji, stories related to him, how he fought different Rakshasas or different beings, about his family, how did he behave in certain circumstances. All the stories associated with Shivji come in Shiv Mahapuran. Other places also, but this is key. Same thing with Vishnu Puran. Srimad Bhagavatam deals, I think this is the most famous one, which a lot of people know, especially I'm sure your parents and everybody. Srimad Bhagavatam deals with Krishna. Like Mahabharata, Krishna is one of the key persons, definitely a key person. But in Mahabharata, except for that part of Harivamsham, we do not know too much about Krishna's own personal life, because the focus is on the Bharat Vamsha, the successors of Bharat, which are the Kauravas and the Pandavas. Yeah, Srimad Bhagavatam deals with the life of Krishna, his story, his Yadavs, his Leelas, and all of that. So Puranas play a big role in infusing bhakti in people. belief in something. And when you have bhakti, you will hope is that you will lead a more dharmic life. So through the lives of gods, through their stories, how they killed certain rakshasas, why they killed certain rakshasas, how did they behave, they tell us story about how we live our lives. Itihas, as I mentioned, is actually what has happened before. Purana also has stories of what might have happened before. Yeah. So the way I understand, and it's don't quote me on the percentage, is that Itihas has 70% actual things that have happened. Yeah, even more. But there might be certain aspects which today might seem like fiction to us. Ki, Are wo, how did that happen? Yeah. We may not understand, we may understand, but it might have told to us in a katha yukta format, so that it's easy to carry forward. A lot of this was word of mouth before it actually got written down. So how was it easy to transmit? Yeah. So that's how Itihas is written. Purana, on the other side, has rich information about some physical, some actual cosmological events that are possibly told to us in story forms, and also stories of our gods, which may seem more like mythology. So if we want to call something mythology, then maybe Puran could fall in that category to some extent. But Itihas is the history, something that happened, also with the message. Then you have Darshan. Darshanas is basically philosophy. So we have 6 darshans, and these darshans are actually based on how to interpret Shrutis. Yeah, how to interpret Shrutis. There are different views. There is yoga view, there is nyaya view, and so I mean, I'm not getting into detail, but that is how you can look at interpret the wisdom of Shrutis certain way. That is philosophy. The exact translation is philosophy for darshanas. Then you have the Vedangas. So Vedangas might also fall into Shruti, some might say, because Vedangas are tools to help us read and understand this the Shruti. Yeah. Shiksha is how the Uchcharan should happen, because the Shrutis also deal a lot with the yagnas people did, the chanting people did, the prayers people had. A lot of that we still have comes from the Shruti. So Shiksha, Vyakaran is grammar. So only if you know grammar, you will know how to interpret, you would know what meaning is. Nirukta is meaning of words and stuff like that. So not getting into details. Chanda is meter. A lot of this is written in kavya, in poetry format. Again, because easy to transmit. It's all word of mouth. Yeah. So Chanda is the meter, the poetic meter in which a verse or a shastra is written. Itihas, so both Ramayana and Mahabharata are written in Anushtup Chanda, and we will come to that later. Yeah. Is that good enough? Then there are Upaveda. Yeah. So again, Upaveda could fall into Shruti as well. I have put it here, but it could very, very much fall into Shruti because it comes from one of those Vedas as well. The work on that then falls into Smriti. So Ayurveda, you know, the life, the information about how the medicinal part of it. Yeah. Then Dhanurved is about Shastras, warriors. How should you how should Dhanurvidya? So how should warfare happen? The skills required for Dhanush Bhat. So they had bow and arrow essentially. So what kind of tricks and learnings should be done for somebody who's a warrior? Yeah. Then Gandharva Ved deals with more music and dance. Artha Shastra may not necessarily fall into Upved, but it can be put, but not really. It deals more about with administration. Sthapatya Shastra is about architecture. And then you have Agamas, which are also related to how do you actually do certain rituals in a certain way, how mandirs, temples are to be constructed and all of that.
That was
This
great.
can take a lot more time, but I hope it gives some idea.
Yeah, that was really thorough. Thank you.
Cool. So thank you. Payal, Pia, ji, you have something to ask?
No.
Okay, I can see your hand.
Sign out.
Okay.
RFP
Okay,
को
cool.
किया sign out, lock, change account setting.
Okay, so we move ahead, and again I'll stop after the second part. Yeah.
Shut down.
So before I get into the story of Ramayana Mahabharata, let's see who wrote this Itihas and when and stuff like that. So a little bit onto that. So let's talk about Mahabharata.
Okay.
So
बाल बनाती हूँ,
you guys can
हमारे
see my
यहाँ
screen,
से
right?
makeup करती हूँ।
Yes, we can see.
Okay. So we said Ramayana and Mahabharata are the two Shastras, Itihas, histories, if I have to directly translate it, that have happened. And a lot of times people say, and usually when it comes to our text, people say, oh, history is always written by victors. So the people who survived wrote the histories, and hence a history is always biased towards the one who actually were victorious. They try to show themselves as the good ones because they are the ones who were victorious and they wrote the history. Yeah. For Ramayana and Mahabharata, somehow that is not true. The ones who wrote them are very unbiased. And hence it's important to know. Yeah. So Mahabharata was composed by Krishna Dvaipayan Vyas. Who was Krishna Dvaipayan Vyas? Krishna Dvaipayan Vyas was the biological father of Dhritarashtra, Pandu and Vidur. Now, who are Dhritarashtra, Pandu and Vidur? Dhritarashtra is the father of the Kauravas. So Mahabharata is a story which is basically focused on cousins, two sets of cousins, Kaurav and Pandav. Kaurav, who are sons of Dhritarashtra, Pandav, who are the sons of Pandu. Yeah. So that is where the story is focused on. Now, Dvaipayan Vyas, Krishna Dvaipayan Vyas, Ved Vyas ji is equally related to both of them. Okay. He has the same blood connection with all of them. He does not, it's not as if Dhritarashtra is somebody else's son and hence Kaurav is somebody else. So from attachment point of view, from actual relation point of view, he is equal to both of them. The other thing is he's a Rishi. So Rishis are known to only speak the truth. It is their tapasya, it is their penance through which they, whatever they say, we take it as the truth. So in this case, Krishna Dvaipayan Vyas has absolutely no motivation to be biased. Yeah. Now, why have I written the other thing? So the Kaurav Pandava, the Yuddha happens. Eventually, all the Kauravas die. The Pandavas are successful. But this victory has not come cheap. The second generation of the Pandavas have all died. The sons of the Pandavas have all died. And they were very young. The sons were very young. Only one of the sons of the Pandavas, who is Abhimanyu, there's another story of Varuha, but I'll stick to Abhimanyu now. Abhimanyu also died in the war, which happened in Mahabharata. But before he died, he was married and his wife was pregnant at that time. Yeah. So Abhimanyu died. So this whole second generation of Pandavas had died. But because Uttara, who's Abhimanyu's wife, was pregnant, that lineage survived and Parikshit was born. So now you see Krishna Dvaipayan Vyas is the great grandfather of Parikshit. And Parikshit's son is Janmajaya. So Krishna Dvaipayan Vyas is great grandfather of Janmajaya. Now why am I telling you all this? But before that, so the history, at least in this case, is not written by victors. It is written by a biological grandfather of the Kauravas. Very important to do this, yeah. But why did I tell you all the way up to Janmajaya? What's the purpose? So we see on the next slide. How and when was Mahabharata composed? So Rishi Dvaipayan, Krishna Dvaipayan Vyas composed the Mahabharata. He narrated it. Now he composed it, but it has to survive for the generations, right, to come. So he narrated it to his son Shukdevji and to one of his shishyas, Vaishampaya. Okay, Shukdevji went and told it to somebody else, but for us the importance is Vaishampaya. So now, when was the first public narration? This Janmajaya, when he becomes the king, he has organized a yagna. Now, how yagnas would happen is that yagnas would be this, when the kings would undertake this fire ritual, it would be a big festivity, big gathering. All the rishis will come, all kinds of people will come, there'll be huge amounts of charities given, huge amount of food distributed, and a lot of rituals. Now, between these rituals, because there are so many people and it goes over so many days, people would narrate stories, play out natyas and all of that. So in Janmajaya's fire ritual, the yagna, the yagna that was conducted, Ved Vyasji came along with his Shishya. And Janmajay asked Ved Vyasji that my ancestors, he's talking about Kauravas and Pandavas, yeah, both of them, because those were also his uncles, right? He's asking, my ancestors were actually men of great valor. They were very brave, they were very courageous, and they were also very good, they were righteous. Then what led to this war? I want to know about it. Why did such a deadly war happen in Bharatvarsha? And then what happens? Vaishampayanji, Ved Vyasji tells Rishi Vaishampayan that you narrate the story. Vaishampayanji narrates the story. Now in that yagna, there is another Rishi called Rishi Ugrashrava Sauti who has come. He heard the entire Mahabharata in that yagna, and then he took it and it was in his mind. He was enjoying. He'd learned the entire history of the Bharata of Kauravas Pandavas. So he is then going away to wherever he has to go. He's also a historian. He's a storyteller. He's a Katha Vachak. Yeah. And in his travels, he reaches this place called Naimisharanya. In Naimisharanya, Naimish Aranya. Aranya is a forest. So in the Naimish forest, there was a Gurukul whose chancellor, whose head was Rishi Shaunak. So when Ugrashrava Sauti reached there, Rishi Shaunak and his students asked him that, "Arey, where are you coming from?" And he says, "Oh, I'd gone to Janmajay's yagna." And they said, "What did you do there?" "Arey, I heard the story of the Bharatas. I heard the story of the Mahabharata, Kauravas and Pandavas. And they all want to know the story." So then Vaishampayanji narrates the story to the students of Rishi Shaunak. And the version and the Mahabharata that we know, it all starts from there. Yeah. So Mahabharata is actually the narration of a narration, the version that we have. Yeah? So that is how it's an interesting trivia to know. What about Mahabharata? What about Ramayana? So Ramayana was conducted by Rishi Valmiki, inspired by Narad Muni. What happens is one day Rishi Valmiki is in his ashram by a river, and Narad Muni comes and they have a dialogue. And Rishi Valmiki asks that in contemporary times, who is a king who is the best of all? Now, he doesn't say best of all. He gives about some 16-20 characteristics. Who's brave, who's Jita Krodha, who's controlled over his anger, who's just, who's powerful, who's also a great warrior, all of that. So there are some 16-20 characteristics he lists out, that who is somebody like this. And Narad says, actually, there is this one king of Ayodhya. You might know him. He's Ram. Okay. And then through inspiration of Brahmaji and Naradji, Valmiki ji is given this yogic vision through which he can see all that has happened in the life of Sri Ram till then. Yeah. And that is how Ramayana is written by Rishi Valmiki. So Valmiki is the contemporary of Sri Ram. They are living at the same time. Yeah. But Valmiki is not a court poet. So a lot of history is written by people who are in the courts of the king. And that is why it ends up being an eulogy. It ends up being the praise only for that king. But Valmiki again has no interest, has no motivations for unnecessarily making Ram seem like a good king. He's doing it because he's been inspired by Narad Muni to do so. And in spite of being an outsider, not a court poet or a guru or anything of Sri Ram, he believes that this is an important itihas to pass on to the future generation, because there is lots to learn from the life of Sri Ram. And that's how Ramayana is written. It is first narrated to his sons Lava and Kush. Yeah. So again, another reason why it is not itihas, especially is not a story written only by victors. We can say that they were all written by very unbiased sources. As I said before, both Ramayana and Mahabharata are called kavya. Kavya is poetry, not prose form. It is written in a verse form. Yeah, it's written in a certain poetic meter. The most ancient, the oldest is Ramayana, which is, and hence it's also called the Adi Kavya. Adi is the foremost. Yeah, we call Shiva Adi Yogi, the foremost yogi. So Adi is one which comes before. So the foremost kavya, the first kavya is Ramayana. And then Mahabharata comes. And the meter, the chanda, which is called, the meter used is called Anushtup. In Anushtup, what happens is there are 32 syllables. Yeah, there are 4 padas. So every pada, every 1/4 has 8 syllables. Yeah. So there is this verse in Gita. Gita is also written in Anushtup. The first shloka is Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsava Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kim Kurvat Sanjaya. Yeah. So this entire shlok is written in Anushtup Chanda. Now, what is Anushtup? So if I break it into 4, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre, 8. First part has 8 syllables. Like that, you have going up to 30. You have 4 such padas which make 32 syllables, and that is what Anushtup Chanda is. Yeah. Just to keep track. Okay. So this is what Ramayana is. Now I will stop here. Do I need to get into the story of Ramayana Mahabharata, or people have some idea of it? Then I can use that time to talk about the aspects of how the Itihas is written.
I think most of us do have a good understanding of the Mahabharata and Ramayana. So yeah.
Okay, perfect. So then Ramayana is about Sri Ram and his family, and Sri Ram going to Lanka, killing Ravan, coming back. Yeah. So that is the brief story. And Mahabharata is about these cousins Kauravas and Pandavas. Kauravas, Duryodhan is the oldest one. He is the one who is driven by Ahankar. He hates the Pandavas. He's very jealous of them. The Pandavas are more skillful and stuff. But it's more about division of the kingdom, which which Duryodhan doesn't want to give any share to the Pandavas. That eventually leads to many instances of injustice done to the Pandavas. Eventually, the war happens and the Pandavas succeed. So this is, in short, Mahabharata. Yeah? This is the history, which I said for us to learn a lot of things. But rather than going into the story so much, I will go into the aspects of history writing. Yeah. So let's go there, and then time permitting, we'll come back to the story. So what do Itihas texts cover? So Rishi Vyas, Ved Vyasji says, Yachyapi sarvagam vastu tachchaiva pratipadatam. All that is important for people and society, I have narrated that in Mahabharata. This is what he says. Yeah, this is the claim which Rishi Ved Vyasji has made. So, and what are those different things? Let's take few examples. So one is the documentation of lineages of ruling families. Yeah. So history, it is history as it is history, and this actually proves it. Because in both Ramayana and Mahabharata, we have a long list of lineages of where these people are coming from. Yeah. So a lot of people sometimes tend to say that Indians don't have a sense of history the way Westerners do. That is not right. Our focus was not so much on individual dates, but we definitely had documentation of events. We definitely had documentation of lineages. Yeah. So I'll give you examples of the two. And this is Raghu Vamsha, which is basically the lineage of Sri Ram. Yeah. You see, it starts, if I take from Manu, which is 0, Sri Ram is actually 35th. And all these names are given, you know, when they come, when Sri Ram is getting married to Sita. So they have to tell each other what families they come from. So Vashisht Rishi, the guru of Dashrath, who's the father of Sri Ram, he actually lists out all the kings, all the ancestors of Sri Ram. Yeah. Similarly, on the side of Sita, the Raj Purohit of Raja Janak, he lists out some 25 ancestors of Raja Janak going up to Sita. Yeah. So this kind of awareness of documenting the past was definitely there. Similarly, if we go to Mahabharata, even more. Yeah. I have not shown everything here, but going up to Janmajaya, so starting again from Vivaswan and Manu, going up to Janmajaya, there are at least 50 kings listed. Mahabharata has an entire list. Who married whom, who were the kids, and then one link goes on, which is the Puru link, but there are others as well. So Krishna is called a Yaduvanshi. Yeah? So if you see this side on, so my left hand side, going from Pracheta, the first half of the slide, if you go down, you see Yayati over there. Yeah. And you see 5 sons of Yadu. You see Yadu, Turvasu, Puru, Dhruyu, and Anu. So Yadu is the one from whom the Yadav dynasty came. So Krishna comes in the Yadav dynasty. And Puru is the one in which the Bharat, the Kauravas, Kaurav, Pandav, and all that dynasty, all that entire lineage. Bharat is another king in the lineage of Puru. And from Bharat, the name Bharat comes. Bharat are basically the successors, the family of Bharat. So hence Bharat Vansha, the lineage of Bharat is called Bharat Vansha. And in that come Kauravs, Pandavas, and hence the name Mahabharata of this Itihas. So it's basically the Itihas of these guys. Yeah. So we did have a sense of documentation and such deep, so profound, so detailed, going up to like 50, 55 dynasties, 55 ancestors. Yeah. What else? It has detailed description about geography. Many times, I don't know if you guys have heard, but people tell us that India is a construct after the British came. There was no India before the British. What they're trying to say is Indians, there were no Indians. Nobody had a sense of the geographical or the Sanatan Dharmic continuity or the Hindu identity or anything like that till the British came. Yeah. But if we see references from Mahabharata, Ramayana is very different. They all are aware about each other. There are connections between them, interactions between them. They've all played a part in the history of Ramayana and Mahabharata. So let's again take a quick example. So this is a map of Mahabharata that I put together. There are others as well, small changes here and there. It's okay. You see, right from the north to the south, there were kings and kingdoms participating in the Mahabharata war. Of course, there is description of and then at some point there is a description saying that Yudhishthira wants to do a yagna and he sends his brothers to 4 different sites so that they can get the kings, the kingdoms there to accept Yudhishthira as the supreme king. Yeah. So there you hear a lot of kingdoms, the Janapadas which are in the south and the north.
Listen, please stop drinking like that. You'll start throwing up. Look at your belly.
Everyone, please keep yourself on mute. Please continue.
So we have descriptions of Janapadas. We have descriptions of various mountain ranges in this Jambu Dvipa, as it was called. Yeah, Bharat Varsha or Jambu Dvipa. Bharat Varsha, Jambu Dvipa. That is what is called in Ramayana. So in Jambu Dvipa, Bharat Varsha. Sorry. So in this Jambu Dvipa, in this there is Bharat Varsha. And we have information about rivers. There are about 150 rivers listed in Mahabharata. Yeah. So there are multiple pilgrimages mentioned. So today you might have heard of Char Dham. You've heard of Kedarnath, Badrinath. I'm sure your parents might have heard. These are very holy places for Hindus. We hear of the Pandavas doing the Badrika Ashram. We hear of them going to Badrinath. And in fact, when they go eventually give up their lives and Swargarohan, they go through Badrinath. Yeah. So from there to now, we still have continuities. Of the 150 rivers they mentioned, we can identify so many of them even now. Even the names have not changed. Even they are the same. Some routes might have changed here and there. Yeah. So till now, that continuity is there. And the continuity in terms of history and time, as well as you see the identification that this Bharat Varsha, Jambu Dvipa was also there. They were different kingdoms, but they all interacted with each other. There were marriage relations with each other. They all helped out each other when in need. So it was not such a isolated society. Yeah, there was a lot of interaction within the kingdoms of India of those days. What about Ramayana? Ramayana we know Raja Ram, Sri Ram is actually from Ayodhya, which is in the north, present day UP, and he goes all the way to Sri Lanka or Lanka, may not be Sri Lanka, whatever was Lanka at that time, but to the south, yeah. And he crosses different kingdoms, he crosses different forests. So there's description of Chitrakoot, there's description of Dandakaranya, the area which is current today, present day, say Maharashtra, Andhra, Karnataka, it falls there. Kishkindha is basically Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, yeah, where he goes. So all that description is there. But there's something even more interesting in Ramayana. So in Ramayana, you all have heard of Sugriv. So in Kishkindha, when Sri Ram reaches Kishkindha and Sugriv has promised through Sri Ram, Sugriv got his kingdom and his wife back. So Sugriv has said that I promise that I will help you find your wife as well. Yeah, because at that point Sita is abducted by Ravana and nobody knows where Ravana is, where he taken Sita or anything like that. So what Sugriv says, Sugriv gets all his Sena from everywhere. Yeah, there also he'll say from north, south, everywhere, everybody's come, and he sends them in different directions. Now these directions, the description which he gives, are not limited to India or even then Jambudvipa. He talks about the entire globe. Yeah. So just I'll take one example towards the east. Yeah. So he talks about Yava Dvipa. He says, go yahan jao, and then you will have Yava Dvipa. Then again, go all the way further east. So starting east, coming from here, from considering India as the center point, you will come to, and he gives a description which is actually present day Peru. Yeah, there is a description around that, not getting the details, but it is there. Then he talks about Yahava Dweep. Yahava Dweep is actually present day Java. It talks about present day Sumatra, which was also called Suvarna, I think Suvarna Bhumi, or not Suvarna Bhumi, it's called something, Suvarna Dweep or something like that at that time. It was Yavya Dweep. So in today Java, which is in Indonesia, which is called Java today, if you go to Indonesia, there a lot of people will tell you that, oh, actually a lot of our ancestors had come from India when they came looking for Sita. That's what they'll say. So they also have that memory, could be folklore, we don't know, but that connection was there. Sugriv knew about these places. And similarly, he talks about north, about south, about west as well. Yeah. So this entire globe description is given to us in Ramayana. It makes for a very interesting video. Do check it out at some point. There are some videos also on that. There are some videos done on that. So do check it out. You might want to search it as Sugriv's Atlas or something like that. And it will come out. Very, very fascinating information. So there's information of geography. Yeah.
Okay. May I add something to this?
Sure. Please go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. So one of the other details Sugriv gives during that instruction to the eastbound army is that you can go straight to Peru, just like you had mentioned. And he mentions the Trishara as well. That is the Paracas Candelabra monument, right?
Yes.
But then he also says that if you are not able to reach Peru, because it's a pretty broad stretch of sea, if you're not able to cross it, just take the longer route. So just in case if you want to expand upon that. So the longer route is basically when he says, keep going up as we go towards, through China, and basically go all the way up via Japan and then cross over into Alaska, right?
Yeah.
Because at that point, the land route was connected. It's now,
he
now
actually
it's a
talks about,
Right.
No, very fascinating information. The thing is that we can speak so much about it, hence I'm not going to detail, but I'll request everybody to look up Sugriv's Atlas and check out a couple of videos. There are a couple of very good videos by Nilesh Neelkant Ogji. I think he's already done a session with you. So he's done videos on Sugriv's Atlas, very comprehensive. So do check it out.
Yeah, he talked about it too. He talked about it too.
Sorry? He talked about it? Okay. Fascinating. Very, very nice. Very nice. Yeah. So what are the other things? As I said, this has a lot to do with Dharma as well, and especially the Dharma of a king. Because Sri Ram was a king, Yudhishthir was a king, Duryodhan was a king, all of these. So what should be the policies of the king? Well, how should a king behave? How should a king behave with his citizens, with people who work from him, with his relatives and all of that? Yeah. So in Sarga 100 of Ramayana, sorry, I've forgotten a T in Bharat. It's Ram's lessons to Bharat. So there's a typo there. So in Sarga 100 of Ayodhya Kanda, the entire chapter is Ram giving lessons on administration, and this is proper administration. Yeah, how should you take care of your citizens? How should you keep the women safe? How should you charge taxes? How should you take care of your security? Stuff like that. Very fascinating. Sarga 100 of Ramayana is all on that. Yeah. Similarly, in Mahabharata, again, these lessons come in a lot of places, but most prominently in Shantipar. So when Bhishma Pitama is lying on that bed of arrows, Krishna tells Yudhishthira that Bhishma has a lot of knowledge and wisdom. So learn from him. And Yudhishthira goes to Bhishma and they discuss. They have this detailed discussion on Raj Dharma. So that is the role of a king, Varnashrama Dharma, Moksha Dharma, Bhakti Dharma, lots of things. Yeah, Apad Dharma. So how should one behave in a normal circumstance? But not every time the circumstance is the same. There might be some situations in which that formula might not apply. So how should the king behave in that circumstance? Called apad dharma, exceptional situation. They have detailed discussion on that. Again, very fascinating. All about Raj Dharma, about policies, administrations, behavior, stuff like that. Then there's another part on dealing with ethical and moral dilemmas. The biggest one, anybody wants to tell me which one? Which is the biggest discourse on dealing with ethical dilemma? Actually, I've written it, Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. So what is that dilemma? Arjun has been waiting for a war for so many years, right? There is so much injustice done to the Pandavas. But at the time when he's standing in front of his grandfather, his teacher, his cousins, yeah, Duryodhan he might not like, but Dronacharya, Kripacharya, Bhishma, he loves them. He is standing at that point and he's like, oh my God, what should I do now? What about my Kula Dharma? I am here. If I fight, my entire clan, my relatives are going to die. I'm going to kill them. Should I do that? Or should I stand here and fight because injustice has been done to us and one cannot tolerate injustice forever. So this is a Dharma Yuddha, right? And he says, no, I want to run away because I don't think this is right. Killing these people I love is not right. And he's not afraid. Yeah, there's a war before that in Virat. He doesn't kill anybody. So, but he's fought with them. So he's not afraid. But what should he do at that time? As I said, we have different roles. One is a role in the school. One is the role as a brother. One is the role as the father. One is the role as a son. Yeah. Many times these different roles come in conflict with each other. What should you do? Here, Arjun, should he fight as a Kshatriya, as a warrior and stand for what is right? Or should he think about his Kula Dharma, of his family Dharma, and ensure the survival of his relatives, however bad they are? And this entire discourse on Bhagavad Gita happens. How do you deal with it? Yeah. In Ramayana also there are lots of many such discourses. And also, should Ram leave except Kaikeyi's instruction that he should go to Vanvas versus staying back in Ayodhya because the people of Ayodhya stay? That is a dilemma. Of course, not as big as Arjun, but how does he navigate that? Generally, we are told that, oh, because he wanted to listen to his father, so he did what his father said. But that is only one part of it. Ramayana has a detailed discussion on why he says I must do. Yeah, why that is the right thing to do. Similarly, when Vibhishan comes to Ramji, Vibhishan is Ravan's brother. And he is like, Ramji, take me. I seek shelter in you. I will be with you. And there is a detailed discourse on whether they should take Vibhishan or not. Yeah, because either way, he could also be an enemy agent, right? He might actually cause more harm to you. What should you do in such situation? So Hanumanji says something, Sugriv says something, Angad says something, everybody has something to add. And eventually, with all these discussions, weighing every side, they decide that we'll take Vibhishan. How? I leave it to you. Go figure it out. It's a very, very interesting discourse. Yeah. So these kinds of topics also come through the way Itihas is being told to us. Yeah, as I said, it is not just Purva Krutam, not just a chronicling of Purva Vrutam, what has happened before, but also Upadesha of making the right decisions in our life, living our lives wisely, compassionately aligned to Dharma. What else? So I've already spoken about that, so I won't say that. This last point, I will close on that. There's much else, but I think these are the important ones. A lot of times, information about the much ancient events, so even before the Itihas happened, the Ramayana, Mahabharata, the key story, things which might have happened before, which are, some of them are actual physical phenomena, but stating them as that might not help their transmission going forward. It has to be easy for people to understand. Yeah, easy for them to visualize. So some stories are given in very allegorical form. One simple example is that we are told that Mahabharata is actually written by Ganeshji, because who else can write an epic of history which is of 100,000 shlokas, the biggest, yeah? It's not humanly possible. So what they're trying to underscore is that it is such a big feat that only somebody like Ganeshji, who's called Vignaharta, one who takes away all obstacles, and who's the buddhi, the daivat of buddhi, only he can do it. Yeah? That is the Mahatmya, that is the significance of Mahabharata that we are told through the story. But there's one very interesting one. I'll take one example of that. It's about Ganga Avatar. Yeah. So in Ramayana, there is a detailed description on how Ganga came to earth. So basically, what we can imagine is that there was a point in time many years ago. And now through hydrology, through geology and all of that, archaeogeology, we also know that, yeah, different rivers have come into being at different times. There were times when some of them dried up. There were times when they came back again, changed their routes and all of this. So this story of Ganga is very ancient. And the story is told to us that, without going into detail, that multiple generations of Ramji, so his ancestors, they tried to get Gangaji on earth. Eventually, Bhagirath succeeds. And the way they put it is that Bhagirath did a lot of tapasya. Eventually, his boon was granted, and Gangaji came, and Gangaji started following him. And then there are some descriptions around. Now, there is this YouTube channel called 21 Notes. This 21 Notes has done a beautiful 5-minute video, 5-7-minute video on this phenomenon, about what could it actually mean. So when we say tapasya, what could it mean? It could be Bhagirath is actually an engineer who ensured the flow of the river, who made that path through which could hold this the water all the way from Himalayas. The glacier melting from Himalayas could be led in a way. So it's actually an engineering miracle. Yeah? So I will just play that 5 minutes, so that if you're asleep, you'll wake up, and then we can jump into the question answers this time. So, oh, sorry.
We can't see the
For me, it's not playing.
Sorry, it's not playing. Can you see the screen?
We can see the screen, but there is nothing. Still.
Oh, you can't hear it, is it? Okay, you know what I'll do? I'll share the link. You can watch it on your end.
That will be better.
So let's do that. And it's a 5-minute thing. So anyways, we have to come to close. So I would request all of you to just see this link. And then you will understand what I mean by Purva Vrittam Katha Yuktam. So how do I share? How do I chat? Is there a chat window? Here. So you can see this link and you will get an understanding of what I mean by Purva Kritam Tatha Yuktam. Yeah. So I think that is it. So these were some of the interesting facets of history writing, itihas writing in India, and somehow in ancient India. And these characteristics also, while making it history, make it actually a lot more than history. It's not just chronicling, but actually giving message of living life. Actually, making wisdom more practical. We learn through examples, we learn through stories, we learn through lives of our ancestors as to how should we lead our lives and make our decisions. Yeah. So that is it from my side. If you have any questions, I'm here, happy to take.
Thank you, Amiji. Probably. Everyone, if you have to say something, you can raise your hand or ask, unmute yourself to ask.
I just hope I was not blabbering away. I hope I made some sense. I could convey what I wanted to, I think.
I think that was very informative.
Hmm?
It was very informative.
Yes, and your take can be, this can be your takeaway, that Hindus were not lacking of the knowledge of history and geography, especially. Now, if you will go further in the deep study of these subjects, you will see there are philosophers and historians, they are blaming this our history knowledge, that oh no, they don't have this knowledge and this and that, they were lacking. There is a complete school of this view. But the session was not actually to teach you or to tell you about the story of Rama, which you are already aware of, but is to tell you that how brilliant our scholars were. They have complete knowledge of history and geography, and they were documenting it.
Amici, thank you again for really taking the time and sharing all the information that you did. Just a question. This was, and this has been time memorial question, right? That when we go back to dating the two historical events, there are so many different dates that we see. Different historians or different Vedic scholars have given different dates. Is there one that you've found more believable than the other?
Actually, Abhishekji, I think I don't have enough information. I'm not well delved so much into into this. But what I do see is that our knowledge of archaeology and stuff is actually so not deep as of now. Every day there are new findings. Every day there are new things happening. Then what one set of scholars are doing, they are using the internal text references. They're using the nakshatra placings and all that to do dating. Then there is this linguistic side that, they figure out, all these different civilizations had a common language. Maybe there was one common language. They dated based on that, yeah. So I don't think there is any one single answer yet, because archaeology has to eventually support all this, and our archaeology is getting. We are pushing the date out and out. For first, it was only 1500 May the Aryans had come to India. Now that is completely demolished. All the archaeology findings have completely demolished that. And taking that Aryan invasion, Aryan migration theory, whatever, all our other texts were dated accordingly, right? So clearly they have all been pushed out. Now, traditionally, what we are told that there is one date for Mahabharata, which is the Kali Yuga date, which is given by Aryabhatta and stuff, yeah. But again, as other researchers have shown, that it might not really be final, and there might be more to what even Aryabhatta has said. So I'm actually fascinated by this whole study that's going on in this, and I'm waiting to see how this turns out.
Thank you.
Good. I guess that's that then. Thank you so much. As I said, I just hope I was able to make some point and you've had some takeaway from this session. Thank you, Kavita ji. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ami. It was very nice to have you. And I believe everyone enjoyed and learned a lot from your session, and we will see you in near future sometime. I
Thank
wish.
you. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste. We end this session with this note. And our next session is in 1 hour and 45 minutes. And Hindu eschatology, why I am here, Atma and rebirth, and Punarchan. So please do join. Thank you. Enjoy your lunch. Take some rest. It's a 1 hour and 45 minutes break. Thank you all. Namaste.